Hey, this is lifetime Cowboys fan Jim Saxton with Jim Saxton State Farm. You want insurance knowledge and old school service? Give us a call. The best backdrops in Oxnard, California. We talk about the intense heat, man. I know it's a chain link fence, but it proves you are definitely in Cali.
Well, listen, when you deal with the oven, as we do in Texas, it don't take long to find the cool spots. And I saw this chair by itself. I said, "You need some company." So I came enjoy. I came enjoyed it.
Well, you look good, and it's a good shot, and you got a break there at Cowboys Camp, and this week it's been interesting. Between Cowboys Camp and all of a sudden, as we age, we got to go through a little maintenance and random things like styes pop up on your guy's eyelid over here, and then I had the explorative. Everybody anticipates and looks forward to the old every 10-year colonoscopy. Had that done. Shout out to Dr. Pham at Austin Gastroenterology. Never thought I would be laying there having fun before it, and it's a good crew, man. A lot of comedy.
Well, they are the heroes. I know we do what we do, and we cover athletes and entertainers, but they are the heroes. They keep America alive and functioning.
100%, and not enough credit is given. And
Nope.
Nor is enough credit given to a guy who is a big fan of Michael Coleman, Jim Saxton, Westlake OG, Texas Longhorn legacy, played
Big
QB.
Big Jim.
He, I asked him if he wanted to renew, and he says, "Is MC involved?" 100%.
He's a good man.
He really is. Insuring Austin for decades, and he does it the right way, the old school family way. For you, Cowboys Camp is kind of winding down. What has the week looked like, or what is so far in Oxnard? What's your schedule look like?
Well, and you're right. We ended today being here, but we'll still have stories through next week. And we've done some stuff in advance. You know how that works for television. A stand up here, a stand up there, and you be in the grocery stores. Wait a minute, I just saw you in Oxnard. It's the magic. It's the magic of TV. It's the magic of TV. We actually had some breaking news here. So in terms of yesterday, with the suspension of Ronald Jones, but to his credit, because I was wondering earlier today because McCarthy addressed it, nothing hardcore about it. He did the coach thing, but I thought, wow, I wonder if they're going to make him available. And they don't they do make players available. When I say make, folks, understand, allow.
Right.
But if players want to talk, they can. And to Mr. Jones' credit, he did.
Oh.
He took all the questions, took every question under the sun. He said, "I'm embarrassed about it. It's kind of it's under a doctor's situation, a prescription." And so he says, "It's not like I'm out here doping and trying to be." It's nothing like that at all. He says, "So I just kind of want to clear my name and let people know it's a misinterpretation." And and someone would asked him, I think it was Joe Trahan of WFAA.
Yeah.
When you try to explain this to the league, and his response pretty much was fell on deaf ears. Yeah. So he gets punished, but he came out and said, "It's not like it comes out to be. I'm on prescription. It happened. I didn't know." And I did follow up with, because he was brought in from Kansas City the year before. He's with Tampa, and part of the reason why he was brought in, besides his talent, was because of his leadership abilities. That's a young RB room, and he's like, "Well," I said, "So is it a setback?" He said, "Yeah, it is a setback, but I just got to fight back and get back to where I need to be." So he understands what happened. He wasn't blaming anybody. He was explaining, here's the deal. And yes, to my question, it is a setback.
That's, I feel it because I think a lot of people, in particular the running back room, so to speak, they fit. I think the fans, and I don't know if Jerry was trying to, and the Jones family is trying to misguide the Cowboys fans, but I really think, MC, that we're overlooking a position of question because everyone's all in on Pollard, and as Zeke is no longer with the franchise now, we talked about it in the first episode. I mean, Tony is valuable. He had the franchise tag, but come on, broken leg, and now this happens with the PEDs. I mean, what would you do if you're Jerry Jones and you know him and his trends very well? What do you think he does between now and the season opener?
He don't bring back Zeke Elliott. I mean, I already got. I talked to Clarence Hill a couple of nights ago, but part of our conversation was about Zeke when he said they need somebody that can run their nose up through it and get those short yards. And I said, Zeke is no. He said they didn't even offer Zeke a pay cut. They want to move on from Zeke. And he said you see that by the moves they made during the offseason. So I was able to use some of that interview, not even knowing about the Jones situation that happened here. Because my point was, if you're thinking about Zeke in terms of a veteran mentorship or leader, it's like, don't even think about it. And boom, we have players like, nah, I ain't bringing Zeke back. So I just think you wait it out. I mean, he plays hardball.
Yeah.
He plays hardball. You know, Zach Martin's not in camp for a reason, you know? And Jerry has said he needs to save some of that money for the future guys, like a Zach, like a Micah Parsons and guys like him and CeeDee Lamb probably, and maybe Dak another contract. So make no mistake about it. Jerry is a businessman, and his loyalty, we know about his loyalty. I mean, with the triplets, he kept them a little longer than they should have, but I think he's learned his lesson. He's like, you know, I'm going to love you even if you're not wearing the Cowboys uniform, but your time has come and gone and you got to go. And I think that's kind of his mantra now is I love my guys, but for business sake, I can't keep them on a roster if they're not giving me what they used to be able to. Because I think he understands players, they age, they season, and you just got to replenish. I mean, the only thing that doesn't get replenished on an NFL team or any other professional franchise is an owner. Okay. I mean, the owner's going to be 47 and 58 and then 80 one day. He sticks around. Unless you're Daniel Snyder, then you got to go. Okay.
You know, one of those running backs, I think a lot of people are excited because of the unknown. And I know, especially here locally in Austin, Deuce Vaughn. I mean, the guy that proverbial chip on his shoulder because he's vertically challenged. And I can relate to him because you're always out to prove. And his dad is part of the Cowboys organization. Well, so what you just mentioned, they need somebody to go in between the tackles that can take the punishment. And Coach McCarthy was asked about that with Deuce. Could they rely upon him to be that guy, to be a third down back? And this is what Coach McCarthy had to say about that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he had a rep yesterday. He couldn't have done it any better. So, he had a, blitzer off the edge and, was excellent with his technique and obviously used his leverage to his, as an asset.
So, I mean, it's a quick soundbite, but let's be real. I mean, I'm not saying Deuce is not like, Emmitt Smith was magical about avoiding.
Oh, yeah.
But you've been out there, you've seen some reps of his, and I've seen Deuce take some licks in college, but I'm not doubting him because I have not seen it. But can he be that guy on certain series or? On
certain series, yeah, there's no doubt. He won't be your 15, 16 carry back. There's no way he'll be that because the wear and tear. I mean, a guy like him, his running back contract will come to an end fast, and he'll be moving on to the next team. So, but he made some runs today. They're not tackling; they're just kind of grabbing. Yeah. He made some runs today that had the crowd going yelling Deuce. I mean, he's got a little fan club out here. I mean, people always root for the little guy, and Deuce is definitely that. And I interviewed him and Kevontae Turpin, two of them, the smallest guys, yet two of the more dynamic guys probably in the league, definitely on this team. And I was proud of myself. I didn't ask either one of them about their height. Because I know
So
they've heard
proud of
that.
you.
I've heard. I'm pretty sure they've heard that all their life. And I
Entire
know I'm pretty sure Deuce is going, okay, when's the height question going to come? And when the interview was over, hey, thanks, bro. And he's like, oh, okay. I think he was stunned because, you do this for a while. You know the insecurity, if you will, that guys have about themselves. And I'm not going to say he's insecure about his height, but if people keep talking about it and making it a big deal, and and I know, and it's not a negative big deal. I'm pretty sure if he does some good things this season, which I'm sure he will, they'll talk about the height first. But I thought, you know what? I want to be the one guy that doesn't ask him about his height. It's like Eric Dickerson. I don't know Eric personally, but we've been in the same circles and we've had conversations. And I said, man, I bet you throughout your whole career, somebody tried to change your running style because the way you run. He says, man, if I got paid for every time a coach would tell me to run low, he said, the thing is, I'm low at the line of scrimmage. It's only when I break open do I, stand up like a sprinter and do the sprinter sprint, He said, but no, you're right. Coaches have always, they try to change my running style for years, and I just wouldn't let them do it. I said, well, yeah, you've been pretty effective with it. Only one of the best running backs in the league in history, So everybody has something about them that works for them. Another example. I'm really good friends with Wesley Walker, the former New York Jets wide receiver. And I met him when I lived in Long Island. We became really close and saw him at the Super Bowl. We used to hang out a lot. He's legally blind in one eye.
I did not know that.
Legally blind in one eye. And when Eubanks, I think his name, Weeb Eubanks, the owner of the Jets back then, Joe Namath and all that, of course, Wesley played later than Joe, but when they got him from California, that's when they discovered he was blind in one of his eyes. And they offered to give him an operation to correct it. Wow. He said, for why? I got here as an NFL ball player with it. Why do I? He said, I was Coleman. He said, Coleman, I was scared it would mess me up. All I knew was the eye I had, or the eyes I have.
Why change it?
However, that is kind of the seed that planted what we know today as the NFL Combine. Because Weeb Eubanks' attitude was, why do I have a player who's partially blind and I don't know about it just, prior to checking them out? And that kind of was the genesis of, okay, let's do a combine. Run, jump, a whole bit right there. So that was kind of the inducement to having the combines we know it today. And it's not needed for everybody, but okay, I'll give you another example. Larry Brown played for the Washington Redskins. Yeah. He played at Kansas State. George Allen was coaching. And Larry Brown, who had a superb college career and was drafted by the Redskins, wasn't a first rounder. He was always late coming off the ball. And George Allen was like, let's get his hearing tested. He was deaf, partially deaf in one ear.
Oh, my God.
And that's when they got him a hearing aid. And then the rest is history. He was because of that's coaching right there.
It is.
So why is my running back like a half split of a second late getting off the ball when he's looking right at you look at the ball, sure, but if he's got to hear, if he's in the slot, he's got to listen. So once they fix that, boom. So stories like that we don't hear anymore because everything is high tech and all that kind of stuff. I love those stories because whatever flaw the human being as an athlete has within them, and somebody wants to fix it. Now, I can understand why Wesley's like, leave my eyes alone. But if I'm Larry Brown, let's do this, because all he knew was what he heard. And he's like, oh man, is that a bird singing? I'll be darned. Anyway, there are stories like that in those old school coaches.
Yep.
I bet you Tom Landry figured out something on somebody. We just don't know about it.
He was a man that was very quiet and had a purpose.
Yes.
So
yes.
That kind of leads me to a point. I just remembered this, and I don't know why I can't remember his name. It was during the Charlie Strong era at Texas. There was a defensive back who I loved interviewing. He was just a cerebral kid and young man. he ended up playing for the New York Giants as a DB, 2016. I can't remember. Why am I drawing blanks? He's probably going to defriend me now. So they found out that he was squinting a lot and why it was delayed on breaking on the ball. Well, they got him some goggles. Changed his entire game.
I'm sure it did.
And became where quarterbacks thought twice before throwing to his side.
I bet. Yeah. See, again, things like that make coaches worth the while. It doesn't get them a raise. They don't really need a raise, but it doesn't get them the accolade because all people look at are the wins and losses.
That is so true. That is so true. And, there's a young man. I want to go ahead and say this. Kids out of East Texas are all about the Beast Texas. They're all about winning, and they're just a different type of athlete, different type of football player. DeMarvion Overshown, Longhorn from Arp, Texas, and you got to sit down with him and do a one-on-one. You connected with him, have a great relationship. I want to play the interview and then get your feedback on how we talked about it briefly in the previous episode, but man, you got a good relationship with him. I thought this was a great interview with the DeMarvion Overshown.
Thanks a lot.
You know who else was excited? The folks in ARP. I understand you provided school supplies recently for the kids in the ARP school district. Talk about that.
I just, growing up, I never had, everything. I never had everything on the list to go to school, but, I always knew if I was ever in a position to help anybody, rich or poor, then I was going to do that. And it was a last-minute thing, but I knew I wanted to do something for home before I went back. And, that was like the least I could do, but I'm definitely looking forward to making that a every year thing.
Do you fit in here?
I fit in perfect. It's only been 2 days out here, but I'm getting a lot of good positive feedback.
I knew coming in this was I felt speed, I felt attacking, I felt hitting. All right, so yes, and yes. What I've been impressed on, I was just telling Mike last night, his call command has just improved so much from the spring into now.
I stayed true to myself. I stayed true to what got me to this point, what got me through college, because like I say, it wasn't easy. I ain't have the hardest road, but I didn't have the easiest road getting here either. And, those days where it gets hard and, I wake up with bumps and sores, but, I think about home and I think about all those people that's cheering me on, going back home and seeing how those kids, reacted to seeing me.
I think your voice has gotten lower too since you've been in the NFL. Hey, listen, man, I'm very happy for you. Continued success. If you need us for anything, give us a call, and let's keep staying in touch so we can follow your career.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that.
I want you to look in that camera and tell the folks at home we'll be right back. And go Cowboys.
We'll be right back, and go Cowboys.
Man, so obviously, Michael MC is the sports director for a second time at KLTV Sports, and that's in the Rose City, Tyler, Texas, growing city that is. And he's been all over America, including Austin, Texas, where we cross paths. What is unique about DeMarvion? You have a lot of relationships with a lot of people. You've seen young people turn into some amazing leaders outside of sports, but I've always felt like DeMarvion has that kind of CEO mentality that he just has the ability to reach people.
Well, what makes him unique, and maybe not so unique. Once the guys get to the level he's at now, that he's dreamed about all of his life. I mean, can you imagine growing up in East Texas, being a Cowboy fan, and then getting drafted by the Dallas Cowboys? I mean, Earl came close. He got drafted by the Houston Oilers, But to your point, it came out of the Tyler area. And like I tell people, in East Texas, football players fall off of trees and run 4.4s and 4.3s as soon as they hit the floor. I mean, if I was a coach, I'd stand by an oak tree and just wait for it to drop somebody because I'm gonna sign him on the spot. But he speaks. What I like about DeMarvion, and you're right, we've talked about him in my first meeting with him a year ago. He is so humble
Yeah.
And he has not forgotten, and he has not forgotten where he's come from. I mean, I talked to his mother yesterday, and my mom says, I taught him to understand who you're representing, because I talked about him being humble. I talked about him being somebody wants to reach out to those who are lesser than he, and he may not have had all of that, as he says, but she said, no, that's my boy. That's the way I raised him, and I said, you got to be proud that those virtues you taught him, he's brought with him to the NFL.
Yeah.
She said, I'm so happy for him. And this guy here, as we talked, I couldn't help but notice the thrill he had at being a Dallas Cowboy. I bet you this kid goes to sleep at night with a big old smile on his face.
He does.
Yeah, and not being able to wait till the next day. And also he said, and he talked about, I get the bumps and bruises, but I think about home. I think about people that don't have it like I have it. And that's just, I mean, in today's world of video games and Xboxes and all that stuff, I'm not going to say you don't hear that, but I will say it's refreshing to hear that. Yeah. I like the fact that the NIL came along pretty much after he was through with college ball, because I don't know what NIL would have done. Right? Yeah, right. I don't know what NIL would have done to him in terms of cockiness or whatever, because money makes you change and do different things. Now that's not true for everybody, but I've seen the good life spoil guys.
Yeah, and
they kind of forget where they come from. And so, although he probably would have been bulletproof, I guarantee you, I think he would have been bulletproof of any type of opportunity to enhance his situation, because he's just that strong-minded of a young man, and he's fun. And I've seen plenty of careers. I've been doing this for a while, as you mentioned. I mean, Adrian Peterson. I remember when he was in high school, and I was here the first time in Tyler, and I remember the first time I saw Adrian do his thing. I said, "Hey, every chance we can, let's put a camera on this guy every Friday night." My last assignment before I left on to go to New York was seeing him sign on National Signing Day to go to Oklahoma. Wow. And then when I got to New York, New York cats, they love football, but they're around so many teams that don't win, college or pros. Giants every now and then, and the only college team is Syracuse, but they're not what they used to be. No. And when you're in Long Island, that's like 5 hours. So I was telling them about Adrian, and so I say the OU Texas games this weekend. Watch this guy, Adrian Peterson. Of course, he had the game he had. I came to work on Monday. I'm a genius to these guys. I know everything there is to know about college football. I didn't. But because I told them to watch that game, they made a connection with Adrian Peterson. And they would ask me, so, like, would our best 5A, could it be a 3A school or 5A school in Texas? So you know what? Probably a 3A school would be a New York 5A school. Yeah, huh? So yeah, dude, I'm not lying. I'm not trying to be funny. That's just how hardcore it is. I said Adrian Peterson didn't come from a big school. DeMarvion didn't come from a big school. They're out there. And that just speaks to what you were talking about, the athletes of East Texas. I mean, in 1 week's time, man, well, I'll do it this way. In a month's time, we had a kid from Pine Tree get drafted by the Reds in the 3rd round, a pitcher. He went to Arkansas. Hunter, I can't think of his last name right now. Hunter Holland. Mm-hmm. The following 4 days later, a kid signed to go play at Texas, cornerback. And his name is, it came down between Alabama and Texas. Mm-hmm. He chose Texas. And same day, a kid at Lindale, offensive lineman, Poe, he goes to Texas. Before I came here for camp, there was a kid who signed to go to Texas. When I go back, a John Tyler kid, I don't know where he's going to go, but I got an email from a producer in L.A. And he says, "Hey," and I can't remember. I'm in a bubble with the Cowboys camp. You don't remember stuff. Oh yeah. Hey, so and so told me you'd be a good guy to reach out to for an event he's going to be doing when he's going to have signing day. Well, first of all, I didn't know he was going to have a signing day this coming Friday. Thank you, Mr. LA producer, because I'm out here 50 miles from you. But he wanted video of it. And so I'm like, wow, okay. So when I get back Wednesday night and wake up Thursday morning, I'll track that down. But I guess my point is all these high profile athletes that are doing things. It's unreal, man, and it's going to get. I don't know. I can get any better, but it's going to. Even with the female athletes,
Yeah,
there's just something. There's just something in this water with this East Texas athletes that make it go.
You know, I've always thought, especially after. So, for those of you watching and wondering, maybe a first time who I am, who MC is. So there was a time where we were both in East Texas. I was at an ABC affiliate in the southern region, and he was at the northern half in Tyler, Longview. And you guys, even though it's in the Shreveport, Louisiana market, Marshall still watched you guys. I was Lufkin, Nacogdoches, Crockett, Corrigan, Diboll, Lufkin, and Hemphill, and going into Louisiana. You take those two areas, it is the most talent-rich area, arguably, in the country. So I've always been wondering, MC, that to your point of the director who reached out to you, because they don't, those small communities don't have the resources as, say, we do in Austin, Dallas, or Houston. And I mean resources such as individuals who can pour themselves into these individuals to learn business, to create profiles, to nowadays create a business through their name, image, and likeness. And create that business sense. And I think that if we were to create a program to go into these smaller communities, there's a ton of potential that these young people can make of themselves because sports is second, business first.
And also I forgot one young man, Longview, the number one running back in the country, Taylor Tatum. It came down between OU and USC. I'm thinking USC because he's Taylor Tatum. He's a running back, and we know the running back tradition. I thought, wow, you cook up with Caleb Williams and all that. Well, he chose Oklahoma for football and baseball. And let's face it. How about and the thing is, it's probably a smart move because he's probably paying attention to the pros in the NFL running back.
Right.
And if this running back thing don't work in the NFL, I'm gonna go ahead and play baseball. So they have options now. They've had options for a while, but it was hard. But these kids I'll tell you what, I'm pleased at the dedication. Because I think at one point you kind of think kids were not as dedicated to sports, but you always feel that way when you're older and you look behind. But they're as dedicated to their craft as we are when we were kind of playing sports too, So when someone clowns on them, I defend them because I'm around them a lot. I get a chance to visit with them, and I was like, you know what? Have you been around these kids these age or playing sport? No, well, you can't say anything because they're just as serious as you were, I was when we played ball 20, 30 years ago. They just have more resources at their disposal.
Correct. And that's an excellent point. Now the Tatum kid, do you think now the June amateur draft, what class is he? Is he 24?
Yeah, he's 20. As they say, when you graduate, what year are you? They just give you the class they graduate. 20. He's 24.
Okay.
He's 24. That's how they do it. 24.
Could he potentially be taken high in the baseball draft next year?
The mere fact that he gets to continue his baseball at Oklahoma, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Skip Johnson can recruit for baseball. He's Augie Garrido's former pitching coach at Texas. And
you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if after year 2 he gets a chance to play in the majors.
I'm looking forward to seeing the development.
Well, and you know what his main reason was why he wanted to go to Oklahoma? I want to face the SEC competition.
Great point. Next year. Well, wait a minute. Baseball.
It was after this year. At 25.
25. You're right.
Yeah. So he'll be their first class. He'll be their first class of the SEC.
You talk about weekend series, which will have no seats to place butts in.
No.
Any of them.
No. Not at all. Not at all.
Hey, I was going to ask you, I saw a video today and it really put chills on my skin while I was waiting for my quote colonoscopy. A guy that you and I probably, it feels like yesterday. I mean, it was several decades now. To me, Ronnie Lott was one of the premier hitters in NFL history.
Oh, heck yeah.
And so when you think of heavy hitters and Dallas Cowboys history, who comes to mind immediately?
Thomas Henderson.
Oh, love him.
He didn't back down. Bates.
Yes.
Remember Bates? I mean, he's talk about an undersized guy, but he'll whack you. He will whack you. Trying to think who else. They come to mind. But, being a running back, I ain't trying to think about nobody hitting me. So those are guys I'm trying to stay away from. And, of course, LT is probably the ultimate just because of the way he backed it up. Talking noise and his things that he would do. And he was just a nasty guy and got paid to be nasty.
He was that. Charlie Waters, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he was.
Yep.
I thought
no doubt about it.
Eugene Lockhart, baby.
Oh, yeah, the hitting machine. Now we won't confuse Dion in that category, because Dion made a bunch of business decisions. Because he's a businessman, and that's just how he is.
He avoided contact at all costs.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Hey, before we wrap up, I'd love to get your perspective on the remainder of what you think is going to happen and what's truly on the schedule for the Dallas Cowboys preseason.
Well, like I said yesterday, you got the suspension of 2 games with Jones. You got a holdout with their multi-talented, multi-pro bowler. And then you had 2 injuries to 2 safeties, Donovan Wilson, who was supposed to be the guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, when you got the cards stacked against you that way, I'm gonna say out of those 4, 3 were going to be impactful. Now Jones, the question was asked, can he keep his job on the roster? Well, who knows? I mean, it didn't happen. This didn't happen. What he did didn't happen when he was here.
Yeah,
it happened with the Chiefs. And so if the explanation is good enough for Jerry and Mike, and he can produce after being out for 2 games. But here's his problem. You got some young scat back who wouldn't mind, who's going to get some reps, because you can't help us until the week 3. So you're going to cut back on your reps until you're eligible to be back in the game again. So you can't waste your reps on him when you got the other guys in the room. So that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And Zach Martin, it's going to be a standoff because Jerry's not going to pay him.
Nope.
Jerry is not going to pay him. And because Jerry's like, we drafted him in the first round. We gave him a whole bunch of money. Jerry's like, we done did him a favor. And then the other side of Jerry is like, plus, I got to save money for those I'm trying to sign in the future that are on this team. I mean, Micah Parsons, he's going to have another breakout year. He had a breakout year as a rookie year when he was a defensive player of the year as a defensive rookie. So there are some hurdles this team has to climb. Very talented. And that's why the mixture of the young and old is going to be real suitable for them. Okay, so they went 12-5 the past 2 years. That's 24-10. I see them getting into the NFC Championship game. And where it goes from there, this is going to be all gravy. And I'd love to see them against the Chiefs.
Oh,
I mean, you need a 3-week break if that was the case in the Super Bowl. We're going to extend the off week for another week because it's the Chiefs and the Cowboys, where both teams used to live in Dallas. Yep. So, the history oozing from that game that could happen. Oh my goodness!
Dallas Texans. Lamar Hunt.
Great. Lamar Hunt. I mean, it's outstanding. So we've got a ways to get there. We'll see what happens. There's a banner. I think I told you this. And the banner in the back of the Cowboys training field with a big old Kansas City Chief banner. And then on the other, around the corner, on the other side of the place, and they're just neighbors. That might be it might be a Dallas training camp thing. There's a big Dallas Cowboys banner. It's like, wow, if only, we'll see.
You know what that really does for me. You and I are both old. Now we're not old, but we love how people embrace history. So that proves to me that regardless of demographics, age, gender, whatnot, people who really love the game know about the history And they know what that is doing right there. The Cowboys, they obviously know the Cowboys and Chiefs are tied.
They know.
They know.
Ooh, I'll just put it this way. That's going to be a good one.
That's going to be a good one. Let's go ahead and
I don't know when. But it's going to be a good one. and you know what adds to it? You got a Texas boy quarterback in the Kansas City Chiefs.
Mahomes. White House, baby.
White House, man. It don't get much Texan than that.
No.
You don't get much East Texan than that.
You know what they need? We need to see some Longhorn quarterbacks other than Colt McCoy, who's done a great job of maintaining and getting paid well as a backup quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah. You're right. We'll see what happens, man. We'll see.
That has a nice ring to it. Dallas, KC, I'm with you, MC. Hey, McCarthy gets a contract extension. They get to the NFC Championship. I think that would be enough for an extension.
Hey, it could be to the point where the Cowboys are going, Zach who?
Yeah.
I want to come back, dude. Okay, you can come back, but got to ease you. Although I will say this, I talked to real quick Nate Newton. I always talk to him at camp, and I said, how can they do without Zach? He said they'll do all right. We said, but Zach's going to be here. He's going to be here, and it won't take much for him because he's a pro. So when it's time for him to come back, he'll come back. He won't need much touch up. He just has to get back in shape, but he's going to be fine because he's a 6-time Pro Bowler, and I'm not worried about that. So spoken like a true offensive lineman, Nate would know. I give him credit for that.
Well, man, when you get back to Tyler, I feel like we can, if you're interested, we could knock out a couple of quicker episodes when you get back.
Well, I think we have to, man. I think we're going to need to.
Because our boy Jimmy Saxton would love it.
And tell Jim we're going to make this a deal. Well, I'll get back with you probably like a week before the football season of high school begins. We can talk high school football.
Then we do that, and usually I'll get we may get somebody of high school that really covers it from the Dave Campbell's perspective.
Okay.
You and him, and
I like that.
Man, tell the fine folks from the Dallas market hello, and I've enjoyed this always, MC. My mentor for life.
My man, I'm proud of you. Keep it up.
I'm proud of you. Hey, for MC, Michael Coleman in Oxnard, California, and we'll continue this series here in the next few weeks. And for the OG Man Cave boys, that being Hardball Hards, Big Mike, and Coach Mo, we out.
Take care.
You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up.